We're going to move on to the Southwest Division now. And this is the last division of this big series. Give us feedback on the series. Tell us if you're liking this off-season content or not. Tell us what we can improve on. We'd love to hear that. You can drop a comment on the YouTube comments, or you can rate the podcast.
Yeah, like should we be doing more vibe or less vibe?
Right. More vibe, less analytics. Where do you guys at?
Yeah.
Not that we're going to fully listen, but
No.
certain things, sure.
Mhm.
Okay. Starting with the Memphis Grizzlies, the always exciting Memphis Grizzlies, who won 56 games last season. Wow. They added Danny Green, who's injured. Jake LaRavia, they drafted. David Roddy, they drafted. They lost Anthony Melton in the trade. Kyle Anderson, Terrell Terry. Okay, Oh, these are guys.
Remember, we're not talking about.
We don't need to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So the big questions are when does Jaren Jackson Jr. return? He injured himself, I guess, in the offseason, went through surgery. Not exactly sure the details of it, but sounds like he's going to return like halfway through the season, but you really never know. To a lesser extent, does Danny Green ever give them anything this season? Does he return and help them? And then the other question I had is is Ja just like an MVP level guy, or is he still a little up and down? Because last season he was a leading MVP candidate for a while there, and then you saw a plateau, and then it was again up and a little down. So where is Ja ready to just carry a team to 50 wins? So yeah, where are you at on the Memphis Grizzlies?
Well, based on the fact that in the entire Pacific Division, I took the over, I got to start getting some unders somewhere. And Memphis, I feel comfortable with Memphis. I think a lot went right for them last year. They just really clicked. They took a lot of teams by surprise. Denver was on a down year. Clippers are on a down year. Lakers are on a down year. Portland was on a down year. And I think all four of those teams are going to be better. And Memphis did not get better. They got worse losing Melton. They also lost Kyle Anderson, which doesn't really matter, but they did lose him. Jaren Jackson's going to be out for a while. I don't know that Zaire Williams is ready to make a big leap. I don't know that Bane is ready to make a big enough leap. I love Bane, don't get me wrong, but can he really be the second scorer on a team? I don't know. I'm not saying he can't. I don't know, but there's too many questions up in the air for me. And I love Ja Morant, but I am still not convinced he is an MVP player. And I think with this roster,
Ja hater, everyone.
yeah, here it is.
Not an MVP player. You heard it here first.
I don't think he's at that level. I think he's close. And regardless, I don't think the level he's at can drag this team to 50 wins based on how it's currently constituted. So I'm going under with this.
Can you just scroll a little down so that we can see the center stuff? So yeah, they're starting Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson when he's healthy. And based on the timeline I just saw, November should be the target for Jaren Jackson.
That's good.
And Steven Adams. Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. Just how I took the sack under based on vibes. I'm taking this over based on swag, and this team is just full of it. This team is dripping in swagoo. I think Dylan Brooks, he really had an up and down year due to all these injuries, or at least one significant injury that kept him out a while. I'm a big Dylan Brooks stan. I think he's gonna have a big year. Brandon Clark had a great year. Yeah, I just think obviously the depth can't be underrated. This team has a ton of good depth.
They did. And do they now?
I think they still do. The only guy they really lost was Melton, right?
And Kyle Anderson.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. But like you said, Zaire Williams should be ready to step into a bit of a bigger role. John Conchar, they got a lot of young guys who should be ready to step into a bigger role.
Is Brandon Clark, does he have room to grow?
I don't think a ton, no. But I'm not really talking about him. Yeah, I mean, 50 wins is a lot, but there's a foundation there. There's a way they play, and there's a superstar, and there's swag, and all of those things together. I like it. I like the makeup. I just like the makeup of this team. They're well coached and they play like they don't care like who they're playing, and
Yeah.
I like them. So
Jaren Jackson
whatever.
Jr. returning healthy puts his team like right on the over.
Yeah,
He's I just you never know. He's had a lot of problems.
yeah.
Steven Adams getting up there too. I friggin' love Steven Adams, but I think he will hit a wall with the
He's not
way he's
old though.
built. He's not,
Yeah.
but he's just logged a lot of minutes, a lot of wear and tear. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. They do need to upgrade that position if they want to like compete for championships, I think.
yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Dallas Mavericks are up next.
D-Mavs.
They won 52 last season and they're pegged at 48.5 this season. They added Christian Wood and JaVale McGee in the offseason, but they lost Jalen Brunson for nothing. They also lost Boban, unfortunately, Sterling Brown, Marquise Chris, Trey Burke, and yeah, that's a lot of losses. So the biggest questions I have is Luka MVP? Just straight up, is he going to win MVP next year? How does Wood fit into the equation? And can Dinwiddie fill Brunson's role as a ball handler, as a scorer not off the bench, even just beside Luka? And then also Tim Hardaway Jr. is returning from injury. That cannot be underrated. He's really good. Did not play last season hardly at all. So yeah, 48.5 wins for the Dallas Mavericks.
Dwight Powell's starting over JaVale McGee, I think, too. But
Well, they promised JaVale he would start.
did they?
Yeah, stupid, but yeah.
Give him like 12 minutes. JaVale and Wood in front. I don't. What you go with this team? What do you think?
I'm leaning under. I don't like it. Other than obviously, like Luka is Superman, so I would not be surprised if he won MVP next season and carried this team to 50 wins and like a 4 seed or whatever. They have this defensive like mentality now, which I think like is really. I mean, it's great that they had like a top defense. Were they the best? They were like a top 3 defense last season, but yeah, they lost Brunson for nothing. I just think that alone is worth like the 4 wins that it would require them in order to keep this over under from last season, right? Brunson
Hmm.
is so good and so reliable on a night to night basis. And they didn't replace him. They're just going to ask Dinwiddie to do more. And I think that's a recipe for disaster right there. Like
Yeah.
Dinwiddie in his role last year was fine. In his role in Washington was not fine. And you don't want to ask Dinwiddie to all of a sudden do a lot more. I like Hardaway. I like Bullock. I like Finney Smith. Like I like these guys, but they're all supporting players. And so who other than Luka is doing anything on this team? That's my concern.
Yeah, it's valid. I'm also going under because for the same reasons you stated, they didn't get better. Um, I'd like Christian Wood's a question mark. There is a world in which he really does elevate this team's potential, but I don't think we're going to see it right away necessarily, or we do see it right away and he just peters off because he stops caring or something. The thing is, Luka could drag this team to 53 wins. He could just
Absolutely.
average 38 a game. If he comes into the season fit and like ready to kill, like that, it doesn't really matter who's around him, but they don't have that backup playmaker anymore, and that is going to hurt them over the course of the season, especially when Luka gets tired or like has foul trouble or whatever else. I just don't know who they're going to go to run an offense. Um, and I could see this team. I look at this team also as a playoff team. I think they're going to make a move at the deadline um, to make a push. But early on, I think they might struggle.
Yeah, I was just thinking when we were doing this because we're gonna do. Actually, I'll just tell you in the chat. The chat. All right. Are we done with the Mavericks?
Yeah.
All right. Um,
Oh, I do want to
another.
say I really like Jaden Hardy in the summer league.
Okay. Another. I think really fun team New Orleans kind of remind me of Portland Trailblazers in a way. Are the New Orleans Pelicans, who won 44 games last year. Same over under 44 and a half this year. They added Dyson Daniels in the draft and EJ Liddell in the draft, and they lost nobody. So yeah, they're the only Western Conference team that has nobody in the subtractions file. So that's good. They also gained Zion Williamson, who didn't play last season. I don't really understand how their over-under is the same, but anyways. I wrote for questions. What does Zion look like returning from injury? Do they have good depth, or do they just have too many guys? Because as we look at this depth chart, it's a lot of guys who need the ball. And then do they do something at the deadline with all these extra first round picks they have? They're gonna start CJ, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Jonas Valanciunas, which is deadly, and they might have the best depth in the league outside of like the Clippers, in my estimation.
Definitely with their bigs, they do.
Yeah, I'm low on Jackson Hayes, but yeah, Nance I like. So where are you at with them?
Well, Hayes found a role last year, and maybe that role disappears now that Zion is going to log more minutes. But these guys, they drafted Trey Murphy, not Herb Jones, with Herb Jones, early on because of his like shooting and playmaking, and he kind of showed, or sorry, rather playmaking potential, and he showed in the summer league that he has grown. They are very deep. They are very long. That it still goes without saying that the wing position is the most important position in the league, I think. And they have three legit long wings in Ingram, Jones, and Murphy. Najee Marshall's a nice piece. Hopefully Kyra Lewis Jr. can come back and from his ACL tear. Larry Nance, like they are just so deep. It's crazy. This over is such a lock.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
and also their division odds. I'm looking. I really like
Yeah,
that to win
tasty.
the division
Very
because I
tasty.
don't think Memphis or Dallas are gonna blow anyone away.
And they're in win now mode. Like even though they're quite young, you never know with with Zion's health. CJ's getting up there. Valanciunas is almost past his peak. Like the majority or the most important players on this team indicate that they're gonna push it for a win now kind of situation.
What do you think about this?
Why?
I had an idea. So I think I agree. That's why I mentioned the first round picks. Like they have these extra picks. They are in win now mode. The big issue on their roster to me is the point guard, right? You have like Jose Alvarado and Devonte
Yeah,
Graham
Jose
at the
has
point guard
something to
position.
say about that.
No, and they start big too, but there are going to be playoff matchups where you want kind of that traditional point guard. And all respect to Jose, I think he's a backup type of guy. So what do you think about Mike Conley trade?
I don't like it because they already have CJ. Like that's just too small of a backcourt. I also think they're going to be running more point Zion. Like that was a pretty
Mm.
big part of their offense when he was healthy. And between
But
him and
Conley can shoot, like as
yeah,
long as that guy can shoot, you
I
can
just
still
don't.
give the ball to Zion.
I think if anything, they need a defensive guard. They need like a bigger guard. Um,
Yeah,
or
fair.
maybe it's hard to find holes in this. I'm a little worried about Williamson and Valanciunas together. So you might want to consolidate your bigs here, and then
Yeah, like Turner, Miles Turner could work. I've always
yeah,
thought that besides
yeah.
Zion.
And like Ingram's peaking. I bet we're not supposed to be condoning betting, but I also bet on the Pelicans being a Durant destination. Like it made so much sense to me
They were.
yeah, like
Yeah.
If you swapped Ingram and some picks, and then you slot in Durant, like you've barely changed the roster, and you suddenly have a Hall of Famer besides Zion, just would be an incredible team. And so regardless, I think they're a 50-win team, and I think they are going to consolidate something at some point and bring on an extra uh, uh, player, or like sorry, an additional talent, so to speak.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We only
Okay,
got two more,
sweet.
and I'm getting parched over here.
Oof.
So San Antonio Spurs.
These will be
Okay.
quickies.
I agree. This one especially. They won 34 games last year, but then they traded. Yeah, so okay, they had added Gorgie Dieng, Isaiah Roby, Jeremy Sohan, Malachi Branham. I love that name, by the way. Such a religious scripture name. Blake Wesley in the draft.
Old Testament though. Old Testament.
Sure. And then they got rid of DeJounte Murray, Danilo Gallinari, Lonnie Walker. Yeah. So I guess my question marks is how hard do they tank at the end of the season? Do they trade guys like Pirtle? I think very likely. Josh Primo, kind of a selfish one, but like how good is he next season? But yeah, 23.5 is their over under, and they're gonna start. I don't even know. I don't even want to read this lineup. Oh, brother.
Yeah.
You
can just say under and move on.
Yeah, we're both taking the under 23. This is a terrible team.
It's hard to say that Pop is going to win less than 24 games.
Yeah, it's true, but he will. They wouldn't have traded Murray if they weren't all in on this draft. That 100%. Just made it very clear to me. So
yeah, and they
smart.
Also drafted like Wesley, Branham, and Sochan are young rookies too.
Yeah.
They re-signed Keldon, who's only like 21, 22. Vassell's 20. Primo's like 19. Like these guys are so young that it makes so much sense to just ship off everybody and start anew.
Well, I think if they get Wemby in the draft, this could be very interesting very quickly.
Yeah.
But that's what they're going for. All right, moving on to the Houston Rockets, who I actually think is a lot harder of a call. They won 20 games last year. They added Boban, Sterling Brown, Trey Burke, Marquise Chris, and they drafted Jabari Smith Jr. and Tari Eason and Ty Washington. They lost Christian Wood and John Wall, who never played for them. So how good is Jabari Smith right away? And does Jalen Green take another leap? So can they win 4 more games than they did last year? Is the question. Where are you at with that?
It's tough. My sneaking suspicion. Can you hear that table saw in the background?
Yeah, but that's okay. We're wrapping up, man. We're wrapping up.
Why don't you go first and I'll follow up?
Okay. I remember watching this team play the Raptors in preseason last year. Like I went to the game and I was like, this is a deeply unserious team. It was just Jalen Green and what's his name? Porter. Their other point guard. Just taking turns ISOing against like Toronto's like best wing defenders and like going nowhere. And I was just like, gonna go ahead and bet the under on this team. Like they weren't even trying in the preseason to like structure anything. It was just so unserious. But I think this year they do try to introduce some of that structure. And I think Jalen Green had a really good end to his season. And I'm kind of tempted to take the over here. And I think I probably will.
I just scrolled through their schedule last year. The number of L's is mind-blowing. Like a number of consistent L's. Like losing streak. They got Boban, did they? Oh yeah, in the Wood trade. This is a tough one. I think I like Tari Eason a lot. I feel like he can be a defensive contributor right away. And so can Smith Jr. Şengün's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Porter Jr. can go for 40. But the thing is with guys like Jalen Green and Porter Jr. is they could shoot you out of a game in 2 quarters, or they could win you multiple games by just getting hot at the right time. I like Josh Christopher a bit. I think Eric Gordon's going to get traded. I'm going to go under just because I think there's too many professional basketball teams in the league. And I don't think this team is one of them.
Yeah. And they're also tanking another year. So yeah. I think that's fair. You know what?
Come on over, baby.
No. I'll stay over. Are
the Raptors poaching any of these guys? No. I don't think the Raptors are going to trade for anybody.
I don't know. That's another podcast. We will be
Good.
back
Okay.
with other podcasts next week. We got some great ideas up our sleeves.
Ooh.
We're gonna be drafting some fun stuff with our other co-hosts, Kyle and
Kyle.
Sahal. So yeah, so check us out next week. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching on YouTube, everyone. And have a great end of the week and weekend. Aiden, anything to add?
No, this is fun. Would love to hear your feedback. If this is more of, you want to hear more of the NBA stuff as opposed to Toronto, because we got lots of thoughts. But either way, this was great, Oren. Thanks for doing this. Like
Yeah.
us, subscribe to us, all that jazz.
Bye.